Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the NCAA Women's Basketball Practice Day press conferences for first-round games from the Frank Irwin Center on the University of Texas campus. Our first press conference this morning is with Utah head coach Lynn Roberts and student athletes senior guard Drew Gilton and junior guard Brenna Maxwell. Coach, Drew, and Brenna, congratulations on your selection to the tournament. Coach, if you have an opening statement prior to taking questions, we'd love to hear from you now. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you being here, covering our sport and this great tournament. We appreciate it, and it matters. So I appreciate seeing you guys this morning. We are excited to be here, happy to be here. I'm really, really proud of our team for the season we had. The Pac-12 is, I think, the best conference in the country from top to bottom, and there is not one single game that's ever easy or a given. And so for our team, we have two upperclassmen here today with us, but the rest are underclassmen. For us to be here in this incredible league, I'm really proud of our team and excited for the game. Arkansas is a good team. I've known Neighbors. Obviously, he was at University of Washington in our conference for a while and made the Final Four there with them. A ton of respect for him. He's a friend of mine. Our teams are strangely very similar. I don't know if the committee had some fun setting that game up, which is great. I love it. So I'm looking forward to a great game, and we're just happy to be here, but we're not just content to make the tournament. We want to play well, compete, and advance.
Thank you, Coach. And before we take questions from the media that are assembled here, I just want to remind people, and we have people joining us virtually. Thank you for doing that. If you have questions for the coaches or student athletes and you are in the virtual environment, you will be called upon after questions are taken from the folks that are here in the Irwin Center. Please make sure if you're joining us virtually to list your full name and affiliation on your Zoom identification to assist us on calling on you. Please use the raised hand function. I see some of you already have done that virtually. If you wish to ask a question, and we will be back with you momentarily. Let's turn to our assembled media here. First questions. Any questions for Coach or the players? Just raise your hand if you do, and the microphone will come your way. First question will come from Jim Vertuno, Associated Press.
Yeah, this is for the players. This site is interesting in that it's got 3 conference freshman players of the year. I'm curious if you could describe to me what Gianna's brought to your team and the matchup with Sander on the other side.
Okay. Yeah, I can talk about G all day. Gianna her game is really interesting to me because she plays at her own pace. She doesn't let anyone rush her. She finds a way to get to the bucket and she has like a nose for the bucket. I don't know how she does it. I don't think you can teach that. She's just really good at finding ways to get, slither through to get to the rim or pull up. And she's an amazing shooter as well. She's one of the best shooters I've been around. She's fearless. She walked into the gym and she didn't act like a freshman. She had so much confidence. She's fearless. She goes out there and just does what G does, and it's really fun to watch. The sky's the limit for her. She has so much potential.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, kind of like what Brenna said, I think if you watch her play, just her focus and her mentality is just she doesn't want to lose. So I think that's amazing talent to have as a freshman. And I think she just works hard. She's worked hard for everything she's earned. I'm not even kidding you. You could go into our gym at 7 a.m. on any morning, and she's in there getting extra shots up. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. We had that same matchup in the Pac-12 tournament when we played against Jada Curry from Cal. There was some controversy about those two, but she handled the pressure well. She doesn't really let that affect her and just plays her game and plays for everybody on our team. So it's going to be a really fun matchup between the 2 freshmen. And I think it's just amazing just having so much talent in such a big game. So it's going to be really exciting to play and to watch.
Yes, next question. Please identify yourself and your affiliation.
Jay Drew, Deseret News in Salt Lake City. For the players, you guys haven't played in 12 days, but you're kind of used to that with the COVID pause. And that. How will that affect you, and what have you guys been doing the last 12 days?
Yeah, I think we had that happen to us at the beginning of the year. The new year, we got shut down a little bit for COVID. But I think it's just the mentality of this team and each one of us players. We are such a competitive team, just like naturally competitive, sometimes a little too much. But I think it's just the kind of the hype of March Madness and just us being so excited to get here and to play a new game and to play somebody different. So I think we've really tried to stay neutral this whole season. I think we're just going to carry that on to tomorrow as well. Just put our shoes on. We're stepping on the court again. We have our scout, and just not getting too high or too low. Just being grateful to play another game and to survive and advance here in Texas.
Yes, next question, just identify yourself, please.
Danielle Lerner with the Houston Chronicle. This question's for the players. With last year's tournament bringing up so much discussion about equity between the men's and women's games, just how would you guys assess where that is at right now and how you've seen it change over your careers? And is that something that you talk about amongst yourselves or even with other players in the conference?
Yeah, I think this is our first time anyone on our team has been at the NCAA tournament, I think. And so I don't think we have a lot of experience with what it used to be like versus now. But compared to social media, what was going on social media last year, you can already see improvements. I think women's basketball has some great advocates out there. Sedona Prince is really good at, letting people know when things aren't right. And there's a lot of people out there that are like that. And I'm just really glad that the NCAA is listening and that they're making improvements. Still a lot more to be done, but there's definitely improvements happening.
One second, the question comes back.
Brenna, Coach said you guys aren't just happy to be here, I think was her phrase. How has that manifested itself in your practices leading up to this?
Yeah, I think since the beginning of the year, since we were picked 10th to finish in the Pac-12, everyone's kind of had a chip on their shoulder that we aren't here to just play games and finish where everyone wants us to finish. We're here to make a statement. And, we were a 7 seed, which everyone was happy about, but we know we can win some games in this tournament, and it's going to be tough. Arkansas is a really good team, but we're not just happy to be here because this is our first appearance in a long time. We're here to we're not done with our season. I'm not ready to say goodbye to Drew. I'm not ready to say goodbye to the rest of our seniors. So everyone's just ready to play. And like Drew said, this is one of the most competitive teams. And, I'm not just here to say we got here.
And then, obviously, you guys are one of the most efficient offenses in the country. Three-point shooting is your bread and butter. Going into a new arena, is that a concern? Is there such a thing as a shooter's gym? And you won't get a lot of time on this court, I'm sure. How will that affect you guys?
I think throughout the year, just the away games have helped us get used to different rims. Obviously, the Huntsman, our home gym, is the best gym for us, but you get used to playing in different hoops, different gyms. And, our assistant coach says, shooters shoot, doesn't matter what rim you're shooting at. So I think everyone's going to adjust pretty well. We have time here to get some shots up, and we'll be ready to go for tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of the joke is, don't make excuses. The lighting, the rims are tight, new gym, new court. But I think at the end of the day, we have amazing shooters, and that's what they do best. And if they miss one shot, they're going to shoot it again and not take any second guesses of that. So I'm sure the ball will hopefully go in the basket tomorrow.
We're going to continue with questions here with our media in person before we go to our virtual environment. So stand by if you have questions for the Utah student athletes and coach. We will get to you momentarily. Next question here in Austin is coming from Jim Vertuno, Associated Press.
For the players, and maybe Coach, you can address this later, but you are in Austin. I know it's all about basketball, but you are here in the middle of the South by Southwest Festival. It's kind of a big deal here every year. I'm wondering, are you asking for any time off to go wander around, check it out? What can you do?
Yeah, I think it's really fun coming to a new city. It's new for a lot of us, and a new state. I don't think any of us have asked if we can go wander around.
They know better.
Yeah, I think we just know better. We're here for the tournament. I think it's cool that it's in such a neat place. But yeah, we're here for basketball. We're here just to enjoy it, but also win a game. So that's kind of our focus right now. Maybe after the game we can do something else. But as of right now, it's all focused on the game.
Yeah, it's a business trip, first off.
Any other questions for our two student athletes before I switch over to the virtual environment for some questions for them? All right, I'm going to take a question from Trevor Allen, who is virtual. Trevor, you should be able to ask your question now.
Yeah, for both Lynn and the players, this is obviously new for you guys coming to the tournament. Are there nerves that are already starting to set in as you guys are creeping closer to this game?
Not for me. I think what I have shared about this group all season is how they have shown up every day the same. They've been incredibly steady and consistent. And as Drew mentioned, they stay neutral. We all do. After a huge win, the next day is the same as if we had, lost a heartbreaker. So they show up the same every day, and that's what they've shown in this break. It was nice to get some rest and get, try to get a little bit more healthy. We've had some, struggles there. I'm sure everybody's going through that. But no, I'm not nervous. Maybe I should be, but I'm not. And or maybe it's abnormal to not be, but I'm not. And I think, the course of the season, your team shows you what their character is and what their identity is. And these guys have just been so steady. And they've approached each game the same way. I have not seen nerves from them at all, which gives me great confidence and kind of following their lead in that. So no, I don't. I'm excited to be here. I'm ready to play. It's been like Jay said, it's been 12 days. So that's a stretch in the middle of to not be playing games. But so there's excitement and anticipation, but not nerves.
Thank you, Coach. Trevor, do you have a follow-up question for student athletes Drew or Brenna?
Yeah, just the same thing as far as nerves coming into this. This is their first time coming to the tournament. It's a little bit different than the Pac-12 tournament. So is there what is going through your mind as you are going into this game?
I think as a senior and a leader of this group this whole season, we've tried to put in place the fact that we don't put pressure on one player. I think that's our strength because we have so many scorers and so many different weapons that not one person is pressured to, I have to be the leading scorer this game. I think our balance is so strong, and that's what makes us the best team that we can be. So I think naturally that doesn't put any stress or nervousness on any player. So like Coach Rob said, knowing our team, knowing our players, we're pretty well balanced, and I haven't seen any nerves, at least the past couple days.
Do we have any other questions for the student athletes from our virtual media members? If so, please use the raised hand function. And we'll come back with questions for Coach Roberts in a moment. All right, seeing none, any other questions for our student athletes here in Austin prior to letting them leave the podium? If not, thank you very much, ladies. Very good luck to you tomorrow. And Coach,
Thank
you'll
you.
just stay here for a few more moments.
Me?
You stay here for a few more moments, yes.
Lynn, as far as you guys being here, and this is your 7th year, you got back, the patience that administration at the U has shown your program, has that made a difference as far as your being able to get back here?
Yeah, and I think, 3 years ago we were 13th in the country at one point. We've shown competitiveness. But yeah, I don't think we've been a bad team for 6 years at all. I think we've done some good stuff here. But yeah, I couldn't feel more supported administratively from our. And it starts at the top, from our president to Mark Harlan, our athletic director, Charmel Green, our deputy AD, and my boss. I think the thing that I love about being at Utah is that women's basketball matters. And, you walk into our facility and that shows. I love that. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to be at Utah. no one puts more pressure on me than myself, and I appreciate expectation. I want it, and that's just who I am. And if no, it's like the adage of if a coach stops coaching you, you're in trouble. I want that expectation. I want people to care. I want people to want us to be great, and we're there. I mean, we're not to the top of the mountain, but we've turned a corner, and I am grateful for the support, and that's a huge reason of why I love being at the U.
Next question will come back to Jim Fortuno from the Associated Press. Jim?
Coach, I was asking the players earlier just about the talent level of the freshmen here. If you could speak to what Gianna's done for you this season and her matchup with Sander in this first game.
Yeah, I mean, both those guys are such good players, and similar styles with Arkansas, and Mike and I have the similar philosophy of if you can play, you're going to play. I don't care if you're a walk-on senior or a highly recruited freshman. And you've seen that with Sanders. She's a talent. She's going to be a beast in the SEC. But Gianna for us has been, I think you heard them say it. She's just so steady. She's competitive as heck, and she'll get frustrated with things, but she doesn't let that affect her game. And I think there's 1 or 2 games all season where she didn't have quote unquote a good game. Typically these talented young players, they might go 7 for 10 one game and then 2 for 10 the next game, so they average 10. But Gianna hasn't had that, and I think to Drew's point, no one on our team averages more than 9 shot attempts a game, and so Gianna doesn't feel the pressure of I have to score 20 or we don't have a shot. I think pressure is a dangerous thing, especially if you're young. So I think the team balance has really helped her. Just kind of do what she's able to do, but then who she is and what her talent level is has taken her to the next level. But she has the intangibles that kind of separate the opportunity to be great to elite, and I think she has a chance to be elite because she's competitive. She's really humble. She wants to be coached. She doesn't think she knows anything. Like you'll talk to her and you'll realize that she is 18, and she's just the sweetest kid in the world, but yet just a lion on the court, which is a fun balance, and she's just been a joy to coach. And I know, when you have a freshman that's your leading scorer and all those things, sometimes upperclassmen can get a little, potentially a little bit jealous or whatever, but who Gianna is and how she doesn't think she has all the answers has made everyone rally around her.
And you mentioned earlier the matchup against Mike Neighbors. I'm wondering, when you saw that come up on the bracket, did you guys reach out to each other? Have you talked? And
Yeah.
Just based on your familiarity with him, what are you expecting from his team?
Yeah, we did. I've known Mike a long time. He's a really good guy. I think he's been a great pioneer for our game. He's an open book, and he's very, confident in what he does, and so that allows him to just kind of share what he knows, and I respect that a lot. There's no kind of paranoia or anything like that with him. But, we've always kind of had similar teams in terms of style of play, and it comes from this similar philosophy that we both have. But yeah, it was I did think to myself, I know, the committee probably enjoyed putting that matchup together, but we're both, I've said this, but we're both kind of nerds at heart that try to act cool. We both love the analytic piece, studying things, just kind of geeking out on stuff, and in the numbers part of it. And then what you see, big picture is the style of play. And, my philosophy has always been the goal of the game is to score more points than the other team. That's in the rule book. So that's what we try to do. And I know they do too.
Before we turn to our virtual media members, is there anyone else here in Austin that has a question for Coach? All right, we'll go back to Jim Viterno again, AP.
Coach, I'd come to you with the earlier question about the equity issues with the NCAA after last season. What's the conversation among coaches heading into this tournament? What are you seeing? What are you expecting? I mean, we've already got the March Madness behind you, in the trademark.
That's great.
And so, what is the conversation among coaches heading into this tournament about the equity issues and where the NCAA is and where they're going?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think there's been, sometimes, how do I say this? Things have to blow up before they get fixed. And I think last spring we saw it kind of blow up in a negative light. But it needed to happen. And I'm proud of the student athletes that raised the awareness and the different coaches that spoke out against it, about it. I think it's important. And, whatever waters and gets sunlight grows. And I think it sheds some light on the issues, and that's the starting point. I don't think that we are where we need to be. I think the NCAA is working hard to seemingly to fix some of the optics, but I think systemically we have a long ways to go. And if you're talking about television and media and advertising, that's where the true money comes from. And if we're talking about true equity, the resources need to be the same. And the argument of, well, more people watch the men than the women, but again, systemically, why is that? And what can as an organization, the NCAA, but what can we do with our media partners and advertising and all of that to level the field in that way? And a high tide rises all ships, and I think the whole thing needs to be elevated. And that's not a discredit to what Lynn Holzman at the NCAA is trying to do. I think they're trying to do what they can, but I think it needs to come, personally, just from a higher power in terms of, again, the roots of it and where we can take this thing. I think the numbers show people do care. People will watch. We've seen advancements in that in the last 2-3 years, but still a long ways to go.
Jim, do you have a follow-up? All right. We're going to turn to two folks from our virtual media who have their hands raised. Just a reminder for those who are virtual, if you do have a question, please use the raised hand prompt so that we can call on you. We're going to start with a question from Lauren Moses of Bally Sports, and then we'll go back to Trevor Allen. Lauren?
Hi, Coach. This is Lauren Moses from Bally Sports. I do want to piggyback off of the equity question. Just Salt Lake City in general, the fans, how have they rallied around this group to make it known that they support the women's program, aside from what the men might be doing or what other sports may be doing? How has the community sort of rallied behind you? And have you noticed a change or a trajectory, I guess, since you first arrived to now?
Hello, Lauren, virtually. It is, Salt Lake City is a sports town, and we don't compete with another university or other things athletically. There is the Utah Jazz, obviously, but in terms of the college market, we are a sports town. I think you can see that with our football team and playing in the Rose Bowl and how many Utah fans traveled for that. And, our gymnastics team averages, I don't know what it is, 12,000, 13,000 fans. When that was one of the goals and one of the things that when I took this job, I saw the potential there in Salt Lake City of, this is a sports town, but you have to give them reason to come want to watch you. And it's not just, it's not a one-way ticket. Like, we've got to produce and make a reason to buy the ticket and show up. And so it's growing. It is growing. I think, attendance is up, I think, 580% since I got the job, which is great. But we still have a ways to go in terms of where I want to be. And I think there's, you can look at some of the programs that consistently are in the Final Four, and their fan base is steady and consistent and impressive. And but again, I think we've got to put the product on that makes people, the new ticket person, the new fan, to come to a game. But I believe it. If you build it, they will come, and we've seen that. There's definitely been more excitement and following and all that kind of stuff with our program this season, and we intend to build on it big time.
Thank you, Coach.
And then-
Lauren, do you have a follow-up question?
I do. Just wanted to go back to Gianna. Obviously, you talk about her commitment and her will to just get better. Have you noticed that rubbing off on her freshman class, just in their possible work ethic? And sometimes, seniors inspire the young cats, but have you noticed that she's inspiring the upperclassmen as well?
Yeah, all three of our freshmen, Gianna Neepkins, Jenna Johnson, and Ines Vieira, those guys work, and there's a humility to them and a blue-collar attitude, which I love. I love coaching that. Who wouldn't? And Brenna Maxwell, who was up here earlier, she was always that. And it's one of those things where she would walk in the gym expecting to be the first one, and there's 3 little sweaty freshmen in there already. And it's kind of like, oh, I've got some friends in here. So, and then that's contagious, just like anything else is contagious. I walk into the gym 20 minutes before our practice, and everyone's in there already getting work in. And that speaks to just, I think, the leadership of a Drew Gilton and a Brenna Maxwell, and then just the mentality of our young guys of, there's a humility to them and a work ethic that I think has separated it, and you've seen it. And that's the key to I always say great players are consistent, great teams are consistent, and they've been consistent in that. It's not after a bad shooting game they're in there shooting. It's been since September. They're in there getting their own work in, and we've had to tell them to stop. Like there's off days for a reason. You need to rest. You need to recover. But then they'll find ways to sneak in when we don't know. So that's been the personality of this group. I love it. I pretend that I get mad about it, but I love it deep down.
Our next
you, Coach.
question will come from Trevor Allen.
Hey, Lynn. Something that you talked about was, if you build it, they will come. Of what you built is a brand of basketball that is very exciting to watch, and it changed this year. What kind of led to that change of changing your philosophy to where you guys are really pushing the ball, shooting a lot of threes, trying to put a lot of points up on the board? What kind of led to that change, especially with such a young roster?
Hello, Trevor. Yeah, that's a great question. I think after last year we had a disappointing season. There was a lot of variables. I don't even want to talk about last year. But it forced me to look in the mirror and just kind of, what are we doing right and what aren't we doing well? And I reached out to coaches in our league that I know care about me and that I very much trust. And I told them I wanted the honest truth. What do you see? What aren't we doing well? And they gave it to me, which is great. I appreciated it, and I still value that. And then, once I kind of figured that out and started just kind of peeling back the layers of where do we need to get better, and as I said, I'm a nerd. I did a deep analytical dive into all of the other 11 Pac-12 teams, and what do they do well, what do they not do as well, and then from there separated some key analytics as to what separates the great teams that are consistently great and what are they doing independent of styles of play, personnel, whatever, and identified 3 or 4 things analytically that the great teams consistently do, again, independent of how they do it in terms of style of play and everything. And then I was able to hire an analytics person that has been instrumental in identifying how we can then so just like pulling it back to where, okay, how? Okay, so now we know this. Now the question is how, and we've changed everything in terms of the players. As an example, the players don't get a regular stat sheet after the games. We don't meet after games. They don't look at them. I don't even know if they know how to read them. We've created our own, we call it a smart box, and it's a way to evaluate and quantify the things that matter and the things that I identified as winning basketball. And so they get those instead, and, you know, it like, for example, instead of assists, it charts good passes. So instead of assist hunting, we're charting if you made a good pass. And not, you know, it's not like 50 a game, but a pass that maybe is the right pass, but it doesn't get you the assist. It might get the assist in 2 more passes. Stuff like that, 50-50 balls. We chart, you know, if you have a chance to come up with a loose ball or a big rebound, we chart that instead of your overall rebounds. So just things like that, and then just shot selection has been the key. So, you know, where are our most effective field goal percentage shots? Where are we getting most points per shot attempt, points per possession? And then we chart all of that, and the players could, in their sleep, tell you what a great shot is, what a bad shot is, all that kind of stuff. So a lot has changed. I could go on and on, as I said, as a nerd, but I'll leave it there.
We have time for one more question from the coach. Trevor, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, actually I do. And when, you know, I'm also kind of in that nerdy space as far as stats and that, but when you go and, you know, change the way you do it, and then, you know, talking to other coaches within the league and doing all the research and stuff, did you have to find that you had to have certain players to fit that system, or was it one of those things that it was a one size fits all kind of thing?
Yeah, the reality is, too, is I've never been a walk it up, slow it down coach. I mean, this is my 20th year, and we've always tried to be up-tempo. I've always recruited shooters. We've always tried to play fast and score as many as we can. So we had kind of recruited the personnel necessary. It was just changing the focus and really kind of, not necessarily changing it, but laser focusing on the things that matter. And so, you know, it worked with who we had. But it was getting, you know, the players to buy into it, which they did, and to their credit. And I think, you know, winning is the great elixir. When you start winning and they start seeing the results, buying gets a lot easier. So I think it's a combination of all those things, but I think we did have the personnel in place to have it be successful.
I'm going to thank the people virtually for their questions and
Yes,
ask
thanks.
one more time, any questions here in Austin for Coach Roberts? If not, Coach, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Best of
you.
luck to you and your team tomorrow.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate you all being here virtually and in person. Thank you.
Thank you. And as a reminder to those who are virtual and in person, a